I wanted to start off by introducing Jen. Jen Manili is an amazing woman. I don't know how many of you are familiar with her, but she is making it her life journey now to help parents with their addicted children, with their children that are having substance abuse issues. She wrote a best-selling novel, and I know you can't read it, but it's Dear Parents, and she is on fire helping this community. I really can't say enough about her, the programs that she's created for the parents, how she's helped me personally. And I just congratulate you for this journey that you've gone on. This is a place that nobody else has been, helping the parents understand the addict's point of view, 13 years sober. And so congratulations to that. Congratulations to your best-selling book.
Thank you.
And I would like you to just say what you want to say right now to start this off, and then I will go into our first order of business.
Awesome. So, I think it's so important to really get into like our whys, which we're going to get into here now. I want to kind of just give a layout of what's going to be happening for this event. What I'm going to do is real quick, I just want to lay out kind of what we're going to be doing next and the next and the next, so you have an idea. We are targeting this to be about an hour, but it could go longer because we do have a Q&A, and I think that's incredibly important that people get an opportunity to really ask their questions. We have a couple of questions that came in from email that we will be really hitting, and it's right now though, like I really want to focus and get some of our kind of are grounded. I am sure as parents go that it can be really difficult and challenging, and we often go into a lot of our survival mode, and sometimes we forget to really, really breathe. And so Belinda's also an amazing woman, and she has helped so many people. And I met her about over a year ago, and she was helping people with like sexual abuse and anxiety, and she just has an amazing journey for herself. And she has a couple of really amazing programs that she put together too. One is the Evergreen program that's specifically targeting sexual abuse, and then she also has a Stop the Anxiety. And I know someone that has dealt with anxiety for her whole life, it really resonated with me. So she is just an amazingly powerful woman, and she has so many great techniques to really help people. And in this journey, when you have a loved one that is going through substance abuse issues and it starts getting really bad, we can often forget, to breathe and have our tools and all that. So she's actually going to take us through a closed-eyed meditation right now. She's then going to tell us a little bit about her own journey, and then I'm actually going to go into my journey a little bit more, and then we're going to each share even more tools to kind of help people through basically really grounding themselves to deal with some of these chaotic situations that people are going through. And then after the tools, then we're going to kind of get into some question and answers. And we have some really great questions that came in, and I'm sure you guys even have questions. So if you come up with a question or you think about a question, please write it down so you can be prepared to ask us. If you're uncomfortable with either getting on camera or turning the mic on and being heard, please feel free to put it in the chat privately, and then we will answer it in a private way. And then we're going to kind of go into like, well, what are the next steps from here? Because this is part of a journey, and this is just getting the journey started. So we want to make sure that like, what are the next steps for you, and like how to keep this journey going on a long-term basis to really help get what you need to get. So anyway, Belinda, please I would love. I've done this closed-eyed meditation. It's so helpful. So thank you for being willing to do this.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. I definitely know what it's like. So I would like everybody to just take a moment and just take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and hold it for a good 4 seconds, and then just release it through your mouth and let everything go for just a couple of minutes. We're just going to be here with each other. You can listen and just relax. You have your videos off. Turn off your phones and your computers. Put them on Do Not Disturb. And just make sure that nothing's going to disturb you for the next 5 minutes. And find a comfortable place to sit. I'm going to give you a minute and then we'll begin. So you found a comfortable place to sit. If you could put your hands upright on your lap and sit with your spine straight up and close your eyes gently. Listen to my voice and notice the feeling of your seat. Take another deep breath in through your nose and breathe out very slow and long through your mouth. This gives your brain the signal that you know that you're safe. Now I'm going to have you tense up a couple of different areas of your body. Listen to the sound of my voice, and you'll see this is going to give you a really relaxed feeling. First, I want you to tense your face and hold that tension. And release. Now lift your shoulders up and tense them for 5 seconds. And put them down and release. And squeeze your hands and tense the lower parts of your arms. And release. And tense the core of your body. And release. Tense your legs and release. And now one last time, just tense your entire body and hold it, and release. Now you're releasing all the tension and you're feeling very relaxed. Focus on the sound of my voice. With your eyes closed, notice the space between your eyes. Notice the space from one side of your head to the other. You may see a light and it may feel endless. Now go back to focusing on the space between your eyes. Relax your eyes. Relax your jaw. Touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Relax your shoulders. Relax your body even further into your seat. Relax your legs. Relax your feet. And now just do a scan. Is there any area of your body that doesn't feel relaxed? If there is, release that tension now. And now I want you to take another deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. And breathe out. I would like you to take a moment and remember something or someone or a time that is so special to you. You felt so much love and happiness, so much gratitude. See what you saw, hear what you heard, and feel what you felt. You can remember this so vividly and how you felt, how grateful you felt. I would like you to take this moment now to bring your hands up to your heart and hold that feeling into your heart. And take another deep breath in through your nose, breathing in the gratitude and the love that you feel. And breathe out. And say thank you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And welcome back. Feeling better? I know I am.
I am too.
So I would like to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for you taking the time to be here and being with us and sharing this time. I know how challenging this is, and I understand more than you could know. My name is Belinda Bloom, and I want to just tell you a little bit of my story. I was married for 13 years, and we had 2 children together. And when we were married, we had a normal middle-class family, and we were happy, and everything seemed like it was pretty good. We divorced when my children were 11 and 12. They're 13 months apart. And shortly after we got divorced, we found that our son was suffering with substance abuse. And I didn't really think it was a problem because it was marijuana, and he had anxiety, he was dealing with a divorce, he was dealing with school issues, and I just thought this is a normal thing. I definitely did not condone it. I did not allow it, but I understood it, and I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. It escalated quickly, and it became addiction, and the addiction was heroin. He had 3 friends die from heroin overdose, and we did many different things with him, but he ended up moving to Georgia. We live on Long Island, and he moved to Georgia because we thought maybe getting away from here was going to be the best thing for him to do. And this was right after his friends had died. So I go to see him in Georgia, and he's clean, he's good. He really looks happy, and I think I'm out of the woods and we're going to be okay. And after some time, he started asking me for money for things, and, I need money for rent, or I need money for food or electric or things like that. But he just needed help. He still sounds like he's doing amazing. So I've seen him. Everything is great. And that wasn't the case. Unfortunately, he fell back a couple times while he was in Georgia, and it just didn't stick. And this went on for about 10 years. So my life at this point is I have anxiety, depression, I'm on medication, I don't want to go anywhere, I don't want to do anything. I'm drinking wine, I'm miserable. I have terrible relationship with my fiance, with everybody in my life. I'm pretty miserable. I'm ashamed. I feel lost. I feel hopeless. My ex and I didn't really speak to each other except if there was an emergency. So their father calls me 4 p.m. one day, and my thoughts are, did my son, did he go to jail? Did he lose his job? Did my son die? And now I don't know if this is just me, but the reason that I have these thoughts is because he could go to jail because he was stealing from a neighbor, or he was stealing from someone he doesn't know, someone's car. He could be stealing from his job. He could have lost his job because he was stealing from his job, or he didn't show up for work, or he was late for work over and over. And he could have died it was a reality. And a lot of parents that I've spoken to, you actually have to mourn the death of your child. And this is a reality sometimes. And I had done that. I had accepted that I could lose my son, and this was just something I would have to deal with. So I take a deep breath and I ask their father what happened. And he said, our daughter is using heroin. And I said, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. My daughter she has 2 young children, and she went to school and she's an esthetician, and she quit smoking and drinking when she had her 2 children. So this isn't happening. And she's seen her brother for 10 years. He's been on heroin. She's seen him on and off, and she would never do this. So none of this is making sense. And then he tells me she overdosed, and it just gets worse from there. She overdoses, and it's not just her, but she's in her apartment and she has these 2 strange men and they're using heroin. And the police have to come because she overdoses, and the ambulance. And now my grandchildren are there, and they wake the kids up. And now my grandchildren are in an apartment with these 2 strange men because they tell the police we're not using drugs. So the police leave my grandchildren with these 2 heroin users, and my daughter's off to the hospital. My mind is completely blown. I feel like I have been punched in the face. I feel like I was kicked in the stomach, and I'm basically laying flat on the floor. So without skipping a beat, I say, okay, I got to do something. And I tell my fiance, we have to go to my daughter's right now. He doesn't ask any questions. He's always behind me. We get in the car. I explain to him what's going on in the 5 minutes to her apartment. We walk in her apartment, and I'm emptying her pocketbook, and he's emptying the boyfriend's backpack. And my daughter is screaming, and the boyfriend's just sitting there. And I'm out of my mind for a brief moment. This is not the best decision. And my daughter starts screaming at me, and she's saying these horrible things. You're a piece of shit, mother. You're disgusting. I hate you. And then all of a sudden, I'm out. I snap out of it because I say, oh no, I've heard this shit before. That's not my daughter. That is heroin. And I'm not this person. I'm not doing this again. I say, Jeffrey, my grandchildren are with their father. I know they're safe. I know we can't do anything here. We have to leave. So we leave, but I'm still like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand what's going on. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody, but that is what I was saying in my head. So now what am I going to do? Week 1, denial, complete denial. I'm going to just go on with my life because I have been living with this for 10 years. I've developed tools. I know what I'm doing. I help other people. I know how to deal with anxiety and depression and whatever else you could throw at me. But I didn't realize that's what I did. I went into denial. I'm just going to look this way. I don't want to see anything else. And that's what I did. I was in denial. And that did not work. I'm going to tell you, not a good idea, but sometimes you have to go through the stages. And it lasted a week. And then I said, I was getting angry and getting sad. I think I'll go back to my old patterns of depression. That sounds like that might be what I do. And I was sleeping, and I was depressed, and I was sad, and I was angry. And I went through all of the emotions, again, that I had gone through with my son, and I was returning to my old patterns. And this lasted for 3 days, not 10 years, for 3 days. And at the end of that second week, I knew that this was not who I was, and I wasn't going to do this. And I stepped up. And that sentence, I stepped up, that's a whole other conversation. But that meant a lot to me, and I was not going to go back down that road. I don't want to live in constant fear and worry. I don't want to be an enabler. I want to be healthy. I want to be there for my daughter in a healthy way. I don't want to take medication. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to have anxiety. I want to be a role model. I want to continue living my life. I want to be happy. And I deserve all of these things. So what am I going to do? How am I going to help my daughter in a healthy way without going back and enabling her in any way? And what I knew that I needed to do is just do exactly what I had been doing for the past couple of years, because my son was still in and out of it. I was still in my journey, and I found ways. There wasn't a straight line. I had to grab people and things and books from here and there and figure out what the path really is. And one of the things that I did is, although I'm a coach and I'm helping people, I knew that's something that I needed. I was not in the beginning. I was not the parent that just found out for the first time my child is using drugs and I'm in severe trauma. That person needs a certain type of therapist at that moment. I'm not just in the beginning where I need a group of other parents supporting me. I'm in this journey, and it is a journey, and I recognize it for what it is. And I know that I need to be happy and be healthy. It's like that thing where they talk about when you get on the airplane and they're giving you the talk about if there's an emergency that the mask is going to come down, and they say to put it on you first, not your child. And parents are like, I have to take care of my child. But the reason for that is because if you put it on your child first, you're going to die. And then what good are you? And this is no different. If you don't take care of yourself, what good are you going to be to anybody else? And that's really what I'm here for. Jen has more information on what your child is thinking and what you can do. But for me, I know that you need to take care of yourself. And that's really where I'm here to support that part of it. So thank you. And I hope that this was helpful, because that's really my intention.
Thank you so much, Belinda. It's just such a power, like there's just so much like power in that, in terms of really taking care of yourself. And I know that that's one of the biggest things that even when I was going through my addiction, when my own mother started getting help for herself and really being able to, but really being able to start taking care of her. And that made such an impact on my own journey when my mom was able to get help for herself, when she was stopped kind of having those like powerful moments where she's like running in the house and trying to, and being that crazy person. And it was just a constant conflict. Like for me, it was just a constant conflict where I needed this space to really try to figure my own stuff out. And when my mom was constantly in and like helping me and swooping in to save me and in my face and taking care of, the whole time I was more just in rebellion from my own mother than I was trying to figure my life out. So it's really important. But to kind of get started back a little bit on how I got to the place that I got. And this is my story, and there's a lot of similar themes that people that end up using drugs and really going down that road, there's a lot of similar themes, but it is a very personal journey for everyone. And like I grew up in a really nice home. And I grew up with a very loving mother. I grew up with I never have had to want for anything. And that's the truth. And not everyone has that story, but that's my journey. In high school, like I went to a really nice private school. I had it all. But what I didn't have was a really clear understanding of how to deal with some traumatic things that happened to me when I was a kid. I didn't know as a kid how to really like deal with what happened. And I'm going to be perfectly transparent and honest. The adults in my life didn't know how to help me. And when it came down to it, conceptually, like, kids do not understand concepts. And they don't start understanding concepts, I think, till around 8, I think, is when they start kind of getting a concept. So, like, no is a concept, you know, and there's different things. So it's not your fault. Not is a concept. All the brain, even as adults, all the brain hears in a kid's brain is it's all your fault. It's your fault. So when people were trying to help me with my trauma, and I was going to all the therapists, and I was, you know, the child psychologist, the adult psychologist, all of these psychologists, everyone was telling me it wasn't my fault. And so I kept believing at some point that it was my fault. It was my fault. That's all I heard. And then people started feeling sorry for me. When I would tell them my story, now I had no emotional connection as a kid to my trauma. I had no emotional connection whatsoever. I remember in second grade, and my trauma was sexual abuse. In second grade, I read a newspaper. This is how I figured out what happened to me, because every second grader reads newspapers, right? But I was reading a newspaper, and it was describing a very similar thing to what was going on with me. And I remember I went to my mom, and I said, "Mom, this is what happened to me." And she goes, "No, it's not." But it is. It is what happened to me. And I knew that then it was what happened to me. But for her, she was like, "Oh my God, now we have to deal with something I did not know how to deal with," you know? And within that, all of a sudden, I learned that when I had that people were treating me in a certain way. They were treating me like a victim. And I could milk people doing that. And I started victimizing myself. I'll be perfectly honest. I was like this poor kid. And so whenever I got in trouble, that was my fallback. I was abused. You know, and I just kept using that. And I would lie to myself. And I would like tell myself things. And I learned how to like cry. Because if I cried, then people wanted to take care of me. And whatever they were angry about went away. But then I actually started taking the emotions on. And I didn't know how to best deal with it. And that kind of started growing into making excuses of why I needed all that. It kind of started with alcohol. It kind of started with marijuana. And over time, I was like, wait, this thing makes me feel better. You know, because the whole time I'm victimizing myself, I'm making myself feel really bad. I'm making myself cry. I'm making myself do all of these things because now I have control over everyone else in my life. But I was also really feeding into my own victimization. And that right there is really what was like, oh my God, I got to go find things to make me feel better. I don't know what else to do. So I did. I started finding all of these things that made me feel better. And I know this is a really unpopular like thing to say, and I don't mean it to like scare anyone, but drugs cause a lot of consequences. They do. It wrecks people's lives. But it also feels really good. And so I found something that made me feel really good, almost like normal. Like I didn't have to pay attention to whatever was going on because I did not care about anything other than feeling good. And there was a lot of destruction happening around me. And sure, I felt guilty about things. I was lying. I was manipulating. I was stealing. Like, I was doing all of the horrible, horrible things. My addiction took me into, like, I was shooting heroin and cocaine. And, like, that's all I cared about. I didn't care about my life. And here's the thing is sometimes, like, I see, like, a lot of people on the outside that don't understand. They're like, how could you choose drugs over everything else? But in my mind, I actually really started believing that people would be better off without me. And so, like, I wasn't choosing drugs. I was actually doing people a favor by removing myself from their life. And if I died, then that was just what it was going to be. Because I really felt like that I deserved it and that people would be better off because I couldn't help it anyway. And that is a really big difference. Is like when I see parents and stuff saying, how could they choose drugs over their kids, or how could they do that? It's not that they're making a choice to choose anything over. It's that they really don't have the confidence to know that they deserve anything different than what they have right now. And that can be a really scary place even for me to be. And my mom had to get some serious help. And I'll tell you, as much as she knew what was going on, she didn't know anything of what was really going on. Because I'm not going to sit here and tell my mom willingly and openly that I am shooting heroin and cocaine. What's going to happen? I'm just going to get in trouble. She's going to, like, freak out. She's going to, barge into my apartment and try to rescue me out. And that's the last thing someone that's on drugs wants, is anyone to really know what is really, really going on. I think the only person that really knew what was going on in my life was the person that I was using with, because we were using together. Even, like, the people that we had over that we were using, they still didn't know exactly how bad everything was, and they were using with us. But so it's like, I remind parents that whatever you think that you know maybe, if you're lucky, 10%, if that. So if you know they're using drugs, I can tell you right now that it's a whole lot worse than what you imagine it to be. Because they're not telling you. And even if you have an open relationship, they don't want to disappoint you. They don't want you to know because they don't want you to intervene. And they don't feel really great about all of these decisions to begin with. And that's where the challenge really starts coming in. And for me, I have been around thousands and thousands and thousands of addicts across, like, my whole recovery journey. This is, like, my whole life is really understanding. And I'll tell you, there is a pretty consistent pattern of progression that happens. And when you understand the progression that happens, then we can start figuring out different strategies. And one of the things that I really focus in on is really helping people with strategies, because this is no longer about parenting. Parenting is out the window. This goes beyond, like, parenting. This goes all about having a set of skills that can be learned and developed over time to really understand. But it's really important to know how someone is getting manipulated. And there's no better teacher of teaching someone how people manipulate you than someone that's done all the manipulating. Because I know how to get control over people and tug on people's heartstrings. It's what we were raised to do, essentially. Because that's how people taught us how to get away with people not being angry with us. I watch all the time, and I did this myself, where a great default is talking about killing myself. And this is, again, I'm not a clinician, but I hear it all the times where people are sitting here going, well, if you don't do this, I'm just going to kill myself. That's a very dangerous game that we're playing, and we don't always have the skills and understanding of how to deal with someone that's threatening those things. And I'm not saying that they don't actually mean it, because they probably do. That's the truth. But we don't know what to do. And so then we just do things that we're like, well, I got to save my child's life. And that starts to become very difficult and very fine lines. And that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. That's too much to really go into here. And that's why, like what Belinda was saying, this is a journey. This is not something that happens overnight. And one of the reasons why I got into this is because of like what my mom and I went through, watching her really navigating this world and really struggling, and then realizing how many other people need that. And the best thing that she did for me was to live her life and to live her best life. And not to say that she didn't have some emotional turmoil over that, but when she started setting boundaries with me, it made a huge impact. And those were boundaries that she set based on having someone help her kind of formulate those boundaries when it came to really understanding our dynamics, because there is no blanket solution to this problem. There's a lot of family dynamics that go into this, and it can be really, really complicated. So it's very personal to each person, because what works for some may not work for others. What enabling is for one person may not be enabling for another. That may be the very thing they need to do in order to really support and help their kid. And how do we know? We don't always know. And so I think that's really, really important. And it saved my life. What my mom did for me saved my life. And as I started getting into my recovery journey, I kept finding other family members that were really struggling. And I wanted to help them.
I can say the same thing, with my daughter. Mm-hmm. I know that what I did made all the difference in the world, because she lost her children, she lost her apartment, she lost her job, she lost her friends, she lost the family. But when I started living my life again, and I set a boundary with her, and I did something with her that I would never have imagined doing, when I did that, it was a 10-day later phone call. She was in detox, and she's been clean now for 18 months. And she will say, and I know that my choices and how I handled this made all the difference. I don't have the same issues that I had for the 10 years, because my reactions were actually making it even worse. And I'm not putting blame on anybody by any means. I just know what I did in many different circumstances was just a push, a shove away from me, and just made it much worse.
And sometimes it's hard to know what's going to make things worse. And I think the biggest thing is when we're acting from a reactionary place and survival mode, those often aren't our greatest decisions in the world. And it doesn't mean it more means that we just need to sit for a second and really think about what we want and respond, as opposed to going into that survival instinct like, oh my God, I got to go save my kid. Because those are the times where we do desperate things, because we're desperate. We feel desperate. We want those things. And I say we because I have done this with my friends. I have done this with a lot of people where I felt responsible for their life, because they call me and they tell me I'm responsible for their life. And I do desperate things, and I have done desperate things trying to save people. And it doesn't usually work out in my favor. And so one of the things that I want to make sure that we do, and I'm going to wrap up this section, and now you kind of know a little bit about my journey, why I got into this, and how important it is for the families to really get the support and help and understand that there's not a lot out there for families and not a lot out there that offer the confidentiality. And that was one of the things where it was like, it's really important for people to actually really have a safe place to go into this because this is so dangerous. But I did want to go into, both me and Belinda have a couple of tools we want to share with you. And it's one of my favorite. I have a favorite thing that I give my clients that really, really help. And she has her own favorite thing that she does with her clients. So I'm going to let her tell you about hers first, and then I'm going to go into mine. And then we're going to do a little Q&A and then wrap this up.
I want to give two because I love to give.
Okay, give. All right.
So the first one is something I want to share. When I was going through the 10 years, if I had this one tool, it would have made all the difference in my life. So I want to make sure I share this. Guided meditation, similar to what I brought you through in the beginning, that saved me with my daughter. I did not know about that with my son at all until towards the end of that time. And what guided meditation does is, one, when you're a woman, your mind's very busy anyway. I don't know if you know this, so it can become challenging to silently meditate. When you have anxiety, it's worse. You have all of that chatter. When you have a stress situation, trauma going on, you cannot quiet your mind. And that's why guided meditation is so important. And sleep guided meditation is specifically what I'm talking about. There are 6, 7, 8-hour sleep meditations. And the reason that you want this is because, I don't know about you, but I've been in a situation where I've been really mad at my fiance or whoever before I go to bed. And then I go to sleep and I wake up and I'm pissed. I'm like, how did I go to sleep pissed and I woke up pissed? I don't really get what's going on. That's what goes on with your mind. You go to sleep, whatever way you go to sleep, your mind's running that, and then you wake up. And I can tell you a whole bunch more about that, but that's also for another time. But to help you, if you want guided meditations, please just contact us and we will get them to you. We can create meditations specifically for you. But when you go to sleep with a guided meditation, you can have it set as a prayer. You can have it set as a fantasy, as you can have it set as just positive affirmations to relax you. And that can take you all through the night. If you wake up in the middle of the night, that's what you have going into your brain, because then you can wake up in a peaceful state, and at least you're starting your day in a peaceful place instead of the alternative. So that's one tool I wanted to share. And like I said, if anybody is interested in those, please feel free to ask. And then the second is a simple tool that you can use anywhere. It's with your 5 senses. So you can do this when you're in a car. You can do this when someone's with you and they don't even know what you're doing. But you kind of just look around and you see 5 things and you name them in your head. And then you touch 4 things. And it's easy to touch things without people even knowing what you're doing. You touch your hair, you touch your face, touch your skin, you touch your sleeve. And then you listen, you hear 3 things. So if you hear, there's a sound of an air conditioning, or you can even cough, or the sound of your breath. So then you have 3 things. And then you want to smell 2 things. So if you just go like that, rub your face. I know you're not supposed to do this during COVID, but do something like that. And, maybe smell your sleeve. That's giving you 2 things. And then the final thing is to taste something. You can just kind of swallow your own saliva if you have to. And you might say, how am I going to remember this? The great thing about this is if you don't remember it, just the action of doing and figuring out, what are those senses? What am I supposed to be doing? What that's bringing you is back to the present. It's getting all of that other stuff out of your mind, and you're coming up with just something simple to focus on and bring you back to your center, where you can just really feel just a couple of seconds of relaxation. And at that point, take a deep breath and breathe, and that's also really important.
So thank you. I love doing the the five senses. It really helps kind of calm and bring down. So mine is something that I give clients because this is one of my favorites. Now, I am not someone that loves to remember to breathe. I practice meditation, but I'm horrible at it. And like it's something where like this is one of those things where I actually remember to do because I don't have to sit there, I don't have to sit still, I don't have to like be quiet and that's I need to be able to focus on my breath and remember while I'm also doing something. So and this is my favorite is it's the box breath. And I'm sure that you've heard about this, but this is more of like when you're on this journey, sometimes we need to be reminded of these things. And even if you have heard it 100 times, or maybe this is your first time hearing it, it can still be really helpful to be reminded that these are good tools to use. And the box breath is where, and you can do this closed-eyed if you want to use this to focus your meditation, but you can also do this in the car. You can do this like when you see your kid cell phone popping up and you have no idea what they want, you know, and you're going, oh my God, what are they going to tell me? Or those unknown numbers that you get where you're so terrified that you're going to get that call. You can immediately start using the box breath to really center yourself, to be able to deal with things so that you don't kick your brain into survival mode and start making those like reactive things. And the box breath is you want to breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, breathe out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. And then you just keep doing that in like a little box. And in your mind, you can actually visualize the box that you're making with your breath so that you're thinking about something else outside of what's going on and you're breathing. And this is something when I give it to my clients and they actually start implementing this on a regular basis, they start sleeping better. And that's like a big thing. Sleep is something that kind of goes to the wayside, but it's also really important to make sure that you're performing at your best because you never know. You just never know. So those are my favorite tools. So now we are going to go into a little Q&A. So feel free to throw questions out there if you want. You can like either raise your hand, you can turn your mic off. We do have one question we're going to start that I got in from someone. So
is that an email or is that the one you want me to?
Yes. Yeah, you can read it to me and then I'll answer. Yeah.
Okay. My daughter seemed to be doing much better, doing well in college. Said she had been clean for 9 months, started NA of her own accord. Then COVID struck. She has been out of work because the restaurants were closed and she's just hanging out. She still seemed pretty good. Then she found a friend who had overdosed and subsequently died. She can't get the picture out of her mind. She's been really down since that happened 2 weeks ago. She swears it hasn't derailed her, but I never know if she's really being truthful. She hasn't gone to NA since in-person meetings were stopped. She says she's handling things fine. I suggested she talk to her therapist since her friend's death could be a huge trigger. She had a session last week and has weekly sessions scheduled now. I guess I just don't know whether I need to do anything more. She's almost 21 and living an hour and a half away. I don't think I'll ever be able to fully trust her.
So, and, you know, as you can imagine, this is actually a really big question with a lot to it. One, the COVID. It has impacted people's recovery at a level that I've never seen before because, you know, our recovery is really based on experience. And since we are all at a loss with experience, it's hard to know. By the way, she said NA, just for people that don't know, that is a 12-step recovery program. And that's what she means by that. So the there's so many people that, a lot of times, especially when people are new, they don't really know like how to just sit still. So this COVID thing has really damaged a lot of people's recovery, and a lot of people have, and I know in my community a lot of people have actually died, and it's really challenging to know what to do from a family standpoint. And this is what I say, the biggest thing that helped me is, to be honest, is life is a trigger. There are triggers that I had to learn how to deal with on my own, and that included my friends around me dying. And it was really challenging, but there was nothing anyone can do for me in order to learn how to handle my grieving process. One of the things that I did for myself, and I want to show you this, because we all have our individual grieving processes, but it can be really challenging because when you're in this world, a lot of people do end up dying, and we do have to deal with the death. And I'm going to show you, I had to do this because I lost so many people. This is my wall, and all of those pictures are people that I've lost. Not all of them were overdoses, but I created that wall because I lost several friends back to back to back very quickly. And I was really, really struggling. My mom didn't know how to help me. And I had to really learn how to walk through these things on my own. The best thing that she did for me was she was supportive. She was there, but she wasn't forcing me to do anything. She wasn't forcing me to do more. And I'll tell you, when it comes to grief, I don't always know how to process grief immediately. Sometimes it pops out 3 months after the fact in weird ways, and I have to have someone point it out to me. But that's just something that I had to learn to do, and there's nothing that anyone can do to help me in that. And so that's what I would say is one is she has to learn how to deal with the triggers on her own. The second thing is, I don't think I'll ever be able to fully trust her. Eventually you will, because my mom did. Eventually my mom started trusting me, but it was me continuing to show up and taking responsibility. But it took my mom probably 4, 5, 6, 7 years before she was really able to fully trust that I was just okay. And I set that dynamic up. And so I allowed her mistrust, because I knew that I had broken that trust in so many ways. But it is possible to trust again. And it is also okay that you don't trust. And I think a lot of people feel really guilty and ashamed that they don't trust their kids. But why would they? They've lied to you. They've stolen from you. It takes time to allow that trust to build back up. But that's just it. They just got to build it. So when she gets through this and she continues to show up for herself, you'll start seeing that you can trust her again over time. And that's kind of my answer. Belinda, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, I'm just saying, from the parent side, I can almost feel some tension possibly building. And this isn't mine. I just know from past experience that, you're saying this, and so the parent just says, well, what am I supposed to do? Just give up? And you're basically saying that this is a journey. This is going to last for years. And what am I going to do? How am I going to live like this for years? And that's really the whole point of this discussion. It's like, I don't want to say to somebody, I'm sorry, but it's most likely going to be a long time if your child's using heroin. And I don't even want to use the word child, because they're not children at this point. We're talking about adults that happen to be our children. And it's a frustrating thing as a parent, but it's something that we have to accept and then know what to do with that. And this is where I think we'll get the pushback. But what are the realities of a person that starts to use heroin, what is the average person? How long are they using? That's something I know that you can answer, unfortunately. Or fortunately.
Like how long? That's something that's like people can be using for years and years and never get better. And then it's something that's like at some point they can make a different decision. For me, like I was using for over about a year heroin, but like coke and other drugs for quite a few years, and that's just something that changes per person, but the effects don't, and the effects on the family don't change. It could be years, it could be a day, and the impacts are the same. And I think like what you're saying is, how do we live our best lives knowing that this is a journey? Knowing that it's like, because you can't be in survival mode for years and years, but it's like, do you want to live 10 years the way you're feeling right now? Or do you want to live your best life for the next 10 years while you're trying to figure out what the heck to do?
And I can tell you that I joined a group online because I was actually confused about what the group was. It was something for addiction. And it just brought me back. Like this feed, I had to actually get rid of it, but this feed, I had to say, is this what I want? And that's something I just want to caution parents about. Like I said, there are differences from when you're in the beginning to when you realize that this is a journey. Some of the groups, amazing, so helpful, but some of the groups, so painful, so hurtful. And it's not that people don't mean it, but when you're focused all day long on social media, reading about this happened to this one, and this is what's going on this one, and they're not doing this, and it is overwhelming. Even for me to see it now, I'm looking at it saying, oh, I can't do this, and I won't do it. And there's no good in it. It's not helping. It's not helping the addict, and it's not helping the parents. It's hurting. Even though you think that you're sharing, it's harmful.
Yeah. So now is I kind of want to open it up and just see if there's anybody that wants to ask any questions. Again, if you feel uncomfortable, you can always write them in the chat. If there are no questions, I want to at least leave us with like, well, what do we do from here? What's the next thing? It's like, okay, this was great, this was helpful, but like, what's the next thing, right? So, do we have any questions? And if not, that's okay. You may actually just be a little bit too nervous. Or you don't want to come out, or maybe you just need to think about it. All right. So I know that there may actually be more questions, and this is what I want to like offer. Like, what are the next things to do? And as you know, there's like a journey with this, and me and Belinda, we're in this for the long haul, and we're putting it together some really amazing things. And we want to give you an opportunity to actually talk to us more one-on-one in like, okay, so now what? So it's like a now what call that we've put together, and it's completely free. And you can go to callparentsimpact.com and actually schedule a call with us, where we can kind of guide you a little bit more based on your situation, and what your needs are in terms of like where your journey should go from here. Because this is great. It's an hour, but we need more. So I'm gonna put that in the chat. Callparentsimpact.com.
Yeah, I was just gonna do that. And whether you I know that we can help you, and we want to work together to make changes, and we want to build a community of people that will make changes. So whether you set up your call today or sometime this week, we're going to be here for you, and we're going to make those changes. And Jen's book is available to you at no cost. Dear parents, this is a fantastic tool for you to use and to just get started with really learning how to help.
It is. I do have, it's the free version is on my website, maniliconsulting.com. I'll put that in the chat. You can buy the book Amazon. Yeah. You can
send it in a follow-up email.
Yeah, we'll do that as well. So you can get that as well for free, and that's just it. Is like we really just want people to get the best support and help they can to live their best life no matter what. Because I hate seeing parents that go down that road of surviving for 10 years, and that can be really damaging. And sometimes, parents just sit around and they start waiting to die because they're like, this is my life and I don't want to live it anymore. And that's where they go. And that's not a good place to be. We want to make sure that you're okay and that you're able to handle all these chaotic, confusing situations the best possible way you can.
Yeah. So if you're saying to yourself, I don't want to live in constant fear or worry, I don't want to be an enabler, I want to be healthy, I want to help rescue my child without doing it in an unhealthy way, I don't want to take medication, I don't want to be depressed, I don't want to be on anxiety. You want to really be a role model. You want to have the mental and your physical health be at its optimum, and you want peace and happiness. And if that sounds like what you're looking for, then please give us a call and we would love to speak to you and see how we can help you.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys so much for being on here. This was great. Okay, I'm sorry. This came in from the chat. I'm working with a parent worried about how adult child will afford in the future. He has been a detox, IP, residential. He's 18 years old. And that's a very common, parents are running out of money now. And that's a very common thing where the parents are like, I don't have any more money to give, even if I wanted to give it, right? And it's because it's like, in many cases, parents just throw money after money after money on things that don't work because the kid doesn't even want the help, really. And at some point, and I know this is really hard, and I get it, like I get pushback on this, but at some point, the kid has to take responsibility for themselves to say, if they want the help, the resources are out there. If they want to find the resources, there are a lot of places that do free things where maybe they have to work for a year to help pay for their treatment. But there are things out there when a person becomes willing to get the help that they want or need. Money is usually not the thing that's going to save you. I watch parents say, oh, well, that rehab didn't work. Let me just go send them to a more expensive rehab, because we're trained to think that the more expensive the thing is, that's the thing that's going to solve all of our problems. When it comes to addiction, money is not going to solve the problem. It's all about the mindset and the willingness. You can send them to the best facilities in the world, and they will, if they don't want help, they're not going to get the help that they want.
And, I would like to add a little to that. Without going further into the story, my daughter was using, before this happened, she was using different drugs. I didn't know about it. But she sincerely was clean when she had both of her children. She made it a priority that for 9 months she did not use drugs. So she was capable. And I had this discussion with Jen and other people that, one of the things as a parent is you're going to kidnap the child, lock them up until they get clean. Well, you do that. It's just like if they go to rehab, they get clean and then they leave. If it's not their idea, they're not going to stay clean. And that's really just the unfortunate truth. And honestly, this question about what do you say to a parent who fears their adult child will end up homeless? For my son, that was the thing that got him to go get help, because he comes from a middle-class family. We have a nice home, and he's never been homeless. So when he walked into a homeless shelter, he also walked into a facility to detox. And
Yeah.
so sometimes that's the best thing. Unfortunately, I know it doesn't sound like anything any parent wants to hear, but like what you said, Jen, everything you think about being a parent, just throw that away, because that's not what you need to do.
It's counterintuitive. All of this is very counterintuitive, and that's why it's really important that you're like, wait, what do you mean I have to do what? And here's the thing though, is what do you say to a parent who fears adult child will end up homeless? Like you were saying, the kid may end up homeless, and yet he actually, this kid, I think, I don't know if it was a he or she, but this kid needs to build the inner strength and the confidence to know that they can get out of their situations on their own. When the parent continues to bail them out, the kid, and I know because this is what my mom did for me, that like all of a sudden I don't think that I can do anything on my own. I'll never live on my own. I don't have the confidence to think that I can do this on my own. It wasn't until she let go, and I know that's really hard, and she had her challenges with it, not saying that it's an easy journey, but when she was able to actually let that go and let me live my life in the decisions that I made, it gave me the confidence to get myself out of the problems that I was creating for myself, because all of my problems were problems that I was creating for myself. And that kid needs to know how to get themselves out of the problems that they're creating for themselves. And it gives them confidence. It gives them strength. We're building their muscles to be able to live this life. And that's what they need.
Hard. This life is hard for if you're not doing drugs, and they have to learn how to live it.
They have to learn how to deal with the things. And I say that, and I also know it's not easy. And that's where like having a supportive network, a supportive environment to help guide people in a long-term way that says that's emotional. And sometimes people need help through their emotions to support themselves through it. That's where living your best life comes in, because that kid may end up homeless no matter how much. But I've also seen parents end up homeless because of their kids. Their parents end up living in a car with them because they mortgaged their house and the kid did not do what they were supposed to be doing. And so they lose their house and they end up living in the car with their kid. That's what happens. That's the dangerous place to be.
And this isn't Jen just speaking for Jen. You know, she's 13 years on her recovery journey, and she's helped thousands of people that suffered just like her. And she's just now, well, not just now, but past couple of years, changed it around for the parents. How many parents have you now helped with this process, Jen?
I mean, so many hundreds. And, you know, and it's just like, it just keeps coming and coming and coming. And I'm like, I want to do more. And that's why we do things like this.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Thank you so much, Jen. I'm really proud to be a part of this journey.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to have the parent side, because we've had some really great eye-opening conversations. So it's been beneficial. Does anyone else have any questions? You're so welcome, Julie. Thank you so much for everyone for coming on here and listening. I hope you got something. I would love if you want to send an email or even sign up for that call, the callparentsimpact.com. If you just want to sign up to tell us like what you got out of this, and like if you have any more questions, or if you know someone that needs this, if you want to give them that link and get them to sign up, we would love to hear from them. Again, that's a free call. So please feel free to use that. And thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you guys. So thanks, Belinda, too.
No problem. And I also wanted to mention one more thing is in approximately a month from now, we're going to be doing something similar to this, but you're going to get the opportunity as parents to ask addicts that are currently using or that have been in recovery all the questions that you want to know. We're going to have a panel. You can do the same thing. It doesn't have to be you showing your face. You can just type in the questions. You can ask the questions out loud, however it works for you. But this is super important that you're going to get the questions right from them. And the next time I'll discuss my story with that and how I learned that they really want to be helpful, as you know.
They really do. And so we're going to put together a panel of people that we can pull experience from. So if you know someone, we're going to start promoting that event soon. So if you know someone, keep an eye and make sure that they come and register for the next one that we do. That'll be another free thing that we do, because I just think it's really hugely valuable to get this information out and to help. So thank you guys again so much. So have a great evening. Enjoy your Memorial Day and stay in touch. You'll be hearing from us as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you.